moments just like this. They never could happen at Christmas because the weather was always unpredictable. The reunions always had to happen at either Thanksgiving, Easter, or Mother's Day, or during the summer. And can you answer why? Somebody tell me why.
Kids were out of school.
There was no room in the house. We had to gather just like this on picnic tables on the lawn. And my goodness, when you'd see the barbecuing begin, before all of the family would arrive from out of town, Grandfather Kojis, Uncle Leopold, Uncle Stephen would take charge and be at the helm of preparing the barbecue. And I can remember that was one of the most beautiful things to see those pits going. They would have to barbecue so much food that Aunt Mildred and Uncle Leopold lived 2 blocks away. And their pit was so heavy, it was such solid steel and iron, they couldn't move it. So they'd be barbecuing at their house, and we'd be barbecuing at Grandfather and Grandmother Kojis' house. And they'd have to haul the food together when it was time to eat. There were so many of us. All of that continues as you see it today. The excitement of getting to see and to know one another is part of what our lives were like growing up in Bunkie. Those of us that remained in Bunkie, the grandchildren of Alice and Curry Kojis, were Madeline Chimino, who is now Madeline Stein, Chris Kojis, Uncle Leopold and Aunt Mildred's daughter, Kathy Kojis Fontenot, who is with us today, then John Kojis, named after his great-grandfather, and then I was born, and is that all of us in Bunkie? That's all of us in Bunkie. We were the ones that waited with such excitement for you to arrive. And when we did see you come in, most often, the crowd that we were the most excited about, that we only saw once a year, sometimes twice, was Uncle Millard's family, who were a large part of gathering and putting this reunion together today. And the year that we remember the most is the year he arrived. He arrived with a stalk of bananas that was this tall. And if you would imagine all of those bananas hanging on that stalk, and he cut them off for us to take bananas as we would like them. But it was incredible. Another one of Uncle Miller's favorite memories is the year that he brought 60 pounds of prime aged beef, and he shared it with us for a tremendous barbecue. And I know that we remember it. We had never tasted aged prime beef before. You couldn't buy it in a market. And no one had the luxury in Louisiana of aging beef and trimming away extra on the edges of it to throw away. And it was a tremendous gathering for us. Also, I want to say that as we celebrate our lives together, there is not one family member today who is not remembered. Look at the posters inside and see cousins that are not able to be with us today, and know that they are held in our hearts, that is a continuation of this tremendous family. As many as we have here today, there are that many that could not attend and be with us today. And yet we do hope that we will always remember that we are family, and that we have this beautiful foundation of family from Bunkie, Louisiana. Now, if anyone has a question or anything you'd like to say, I'm going to continue with some announcements for us. Anyone else? Questions? Comments?
I have a
Judy,
comment too.
think of anything.
I have a comment.
What?
92.
92 of us from Colorado.
The farthest, yes.
That's it.
That was a close count to Grandmother's 90th birthday.
Yes, that's true. There was a beautiful gathering we had at the family home in 1988 for her
86.
90th birthday.
86.
In 1986 for her 90th birthday,
And the weather was as beautiful that day
as it is today. Absolutely. And there are in our plans for the day a baseball game that's going to be played in the beautiful opening, the old field that's here. And I understand
Yay.
that the teams that are going to match off today are going to be Aunt Madonna's team.
Yay! Woo!
That's those Raging Cajuns from Lafayette. And we've
Yeah.
got Aunt Betty Joyce's team. But those Lone Star Rangers are coming. And everybody's going to move, if you'll take chairs and things, to sit in the shade to watch the game. Know that we will have a blessing to share all of the beautiful dinner that has been prepared for us today. And that will be at 2 o'clock. And very, very conveniently, after such a big and delicious meal, we're going to have some time to visit and relax. And at 4 o'clock,
4:30.
4:30, we're going to pray the rosary. And at 5 o'clock, we will continue with the celebration of Mass for all of us. And after Mass, we're going to
relax, spread the food back out.
be on our own.
And we're challenging you to stay up with us tonight.
We're going to stay up. I didn't sleep until 2 o'clock.
Get your
anyway.
chairs, cool off, take a drink with you, and let's head for the baseball game.
Okay, go, Donna!
Steve,
I wanted to tell everybody about Uncle Andy.
yes, go ahead.
Could I do that?
Yo, we've got news on Uncle Andy, and Steve from Denver, Madeline's husband, is going to tell us about Uncle Andy, our oldest surviving sibling.
Yeah. Madeline would tell you about this, but her voice isn't real strong. Uncle Andy is in fine health. He walks, he drives. He's 90 years old, he drives, and safely too. He lives in an independent living place there in Denver, just a few miles from us. Madeline takes very good care of him for his medical and all his other needs. And he's a happy person. He's full of joy. He has many friends. He has a phenomenal memory. And I think that's something that there are certain Kojis traits that I've certainly got to learn about by being married to Madeline. And his memory is so great about people and names. He can go down the hallway and there will be a dozen people pass by and he'll name every one of them by their first name. He's very outgoing, very friendly. He has lots of supporters. The staff love him. Whenever he's in the hospital, which is once in a while, he has just wonderful care because he's so personable and he's so outgoing. So, you know, the Kojis family has wonderful, wonderful traits that I'm sure all of you have inherited some of them. So anyway, I just want you to know he's alive, he's well, he's doing wonderful, and he sends his regards. He'd love to be here.
Yay, Uncle Andy! Woo!
I have just a couple of extra stories. When I was 12 years old and my cousin John was 13, Aunt Arlene called and she said that she was coming home and that we were going to have a family gathering. Bring as many together, call my brother Millard, as she would say, and get him to come home. So we started planning a reunion. I just listened. I was just a child. And I was tugging along with Grandpa and John. We were so excited, we spent the night over at the grandparents' home on Lexington Avenue, so we would be up with Grandfather at 4:30 in the morning as he went to light the fire to roast a pig. And you'd have to be there with Johnny and I. It was cold and it was very foggy, And Grandpa had the white fuel, the white gasoline that came from a local plant, and he poured it all over the wood. And what we didn't realize is in that cold weather, those fumes were rolling out from around all of that wood. He had put about a gallon of fuel on it. And he told me, he said, stand back, boys. We got about 10 feet back, but the fumes had gone about 15 feet away from all that wood. And Grandpa, who always loved to smoke his cigar, he hadn't lit it up yet at 5 in the morning. He takes his little box of matches and he flicks it and he throws it, and we heard, whoa! And I mean, the flames came from here to the wall.
Oh my gosh.
And Grandpa says, watch yourself, boys. And he said, get in the car, we're going to Mass. So we went for the 5:30 Mass. That morning, Mass was over at 6 o'clock, and we came back to the house. Aunt Arlene had arrived and had been at the house for a couple of days, and it was a tremendous excitement. But the story that goes with that barbecue, and thanks to Sammy and Mike, who have manned the barbecue pits today, we'll eat at 2 o'clock on schedule. It got to be at 3:30 in the afternoon, and the pig had not finished roasting yet. And the joke that I wanted to share about Uncle Wilt's, Aunt Eloise's husband, who was the most wonderful Cajun man, he would always say, we're ambassadors of Louisiana wherever we travel. And they traveled the United States extensively. But Uncle Wilt's had brought about 8 or 10 different types of after-dinner cordials, the liqueur that you serve in the little bitty tiny liqueur glasses. And by about 1 in the afternoon, the men had started drinking all of the liqueurs, and they had overindulged in their alcoholic consumption. It was the funniest day. Johnny and I were just looking at them as they were all tipsy. And it was a great, great Sunday. My father said to Mama that afternoon, he said, Teresa, I'll never go back on an Easter Sunday to eat with the family. He said we didn't sit to eat until 4 o'clock. But those are some of the happy memories. Another one, Uncle Frank Clary, where's Uncle Frank? Uncle Frank came in, and Kathy Kojis Fontenot's daddy, Uncle Leopold, and Uncle Stephen took us all out crawfishing. And they took us to the rice fields, and they caught that day. You know, you think of a crawfish boil today, even Texas style, 400 pounds of crawfish is a big boil. They brought back 1,200 pounds of crawfish. The boat was full of crawfish. The pickup truck was full of crawfish. And we had to see them wash, to purge, and to boil all of that. And the family, all of the mothers and Grandmother Kojis and the men, they had to start peeling all of those crawfish to put in the freezer. And from that, ask your parents and grandparents about Grandmother Kojis's famous, and it's famous, crawfish bisque. Not the etouffee, but the homemade bisque that is stuffed into the heads of crawfish, into the thorax of a crawfish. It's the most beautiful dish you've ever tasted. And she would make enough for everyone at the reunion to have a taste of crawfish bisque.
I can taste it now.
Yes, and all we can do is taste it in our memory. The only person that could fix it, Grandmother would say, just like her, was Aunt Eloise, the oldest daughter.
Yeah, she made me clean those heads.
Yes, but in closing, some of these exciting stories that we hear about that are our memories, I would say to you, I tried to the best of my ability today to prepare Grandmother Kojis's famous, and I tell you that because she had a reputation when the church would hold a dinner and she would prepare desserts for the dinner. The wealthiest ladies of the community would say, when Miss Kojis' cakes arrive, they're sold. We'll take them.